and qualities you employ when taking care of those you love the most.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the TVE Global Webinar. We've got a great evening lined up for you this evening, as always. We've got, in a second, we'll go through the recognition so far for the month and any updates, of course. And also, we have got a couple of oil stories for you as well this evening. And also, we've got a fantastic training lined up for you. I know you're going to get a huge amount of value out of. So, without further ado, let me just share the right thing. I'll try and click the right button this time. There we go. Hopefully that one's worked. So, okay, so let's move on and go through the recognition for this evening. First of all, October enrollments month to date. There's not a lot left of the month. Just a few days, so plenty of time though to share this still with other people. So with 4 enrollments so far this month, we've got a lot of people. We've got Leah Derbyshire, Victoria Gotham, Kim Clark, Tanya Juice, Charles Parker, Delane Peterson, and ourselves as well. So we've got 4 this month. Moving on as well, we've got a brilliant effort from Nikki Hartle and Saskia Boo. Is it Boo? I think it is. Sorry, I do apologise, who got 5 on so far this month. Also, we've got Annette Ahido, who has a brilliant result with 6 people so far in October. Alison Thomas has got a super 7, and with an amazing 8, we have got Kim Elberg, who's really firing on all cylinders this month, so that's brilliant to see. So, still a few more days left, obviously, up until the 31st, so plenty to still go for. Oh, and I nearly forgot there, Martha Stein. Stein, is it? Is it Stein, Lisa?
Yeah, Stein.
Fantastic 9 people on so far in October, so that's absolutely brilliant. The amount of people that are joining. In fact, in the Very Essence group, there's been 249 people so far in October. And you look, I mean, they were great figures in September and August, 190 and 181. It just shows how things really, really are moving at the moment. So that's now taken the Very Essence group to over 5,000, well, 5,111, as you can see, so far today. So that's a brilliant, brilliant effort from everybody, and I'm sure you can see you're in the right group to be seeing some amazing growth. Now, of course, we're talking about things running out. Ends 11 p.m. Wednesday, the 30th of October. We've now got our second BOGO offer that's come out in the last week. Only last week it was actually mentioned about it, and we've had some brilliant BOGO offers this week. So this, so running now up until Wednesday evening at 11 p.m. should be said that is UK time. Obviously, it's going to be midnight Central European time. You can actually get an On Guard and Air, both of those for £28.25, or if you prefer, a 15mm Serenity and a Balance for £37.75, or a Deep Blue and an On Guard, both for £30. Okay, so that is, like I said, only up until 11 p.m. on Wednesday. It's been a great idea, I think, so we don't have, keeps the postage down rather than doing them all on different days. Now free at once, you can order them anytime you wish over that 3-day period. So you could obviously use this one. We put one in our group today as well. So whatever you do, let your customers know via Facebook or any social media, of course, but put it on your own timeline, your pages, your groups, but do let people know what is currently available. You won't be doing them a favour otherwise. And of course, this week we have our online classes. We've got our ones which we run on Tuesday at 8 p.m, tomorrow evening at 8 p.m, Thursday at 11 a.m, and Saturday at midday at learntheessentials.info. So that is open. That room's open 20 minutes before the start. Just pass on, put any prospects, people that are interested in our business, put them in there. We'll do the work for you. Okay, and all you've got to do is follow up to see what they think. So we'll put, put on what we would like to think anyway as a professional presentation for you. Also, Lisa's doing her classes, as she mentioned last week. She's doing them in a slightly different way. I think mainly still on demand, aren't they, Lisa?
Well, when you go onto that link, Andy, it shows for the next 10 days whenever there's a class.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah, it just gives the flexibility to sort of change times and dates based on demand. But yeah, you'll be able to see that when you click on the link. Anybody wants to click on that link just to see what the experience is, please go ahead and do it.
And you'll see here that you get, there'll be a picture there as well, or not a picture, just saying about the Essential Oil Workshop. And people, again, they can just select their day and their time and then click it and fill their details in, and then they'll get an email directly back to them, won't they? So and confirming that particular date. So right, okay, so to start with, we have got like I said, a couple of oil stories. And firstly, I'm not going to go too far away from where I am. In fact, I'm going to go over to Sue, who's got an essential oil story from a customer. She's actually not in the room with me here today. We just live in different rooms in our own home, of course. So I'll pass you over to Sue.
I know why that is, Sue.
How dare you?
Can you hear and see me okay? Am I
here?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I just wanted to share a really lovely story. We all know that the Lifelong Vitality Pack is amazing. We all know that it's the top selling product. We all know that you can get your money back if you're not happy, and after having taken it for a month, you're going to be feeling a lot better, and going into the second month even better still, which certainly was my experience. However, I just wanted to relate a story of a lady that I met, and she had had a kidney transplant, life-saving kidney transplant, and she was grateful for that. She finally got her match, but she just was not feeling very well. She just felt really poorly all the time. She had no energy. She was on the sofa most of the time. Grateful to be alive, grateful to have a kidney that was working, but she just didn't feel very well. So she embarked on her journey with the Lifelong Vitality Pack, and it was so amazing because within 2 weeks she was out and about and walking her dog. So I just think that's just such an incredible story. So, I mean, usually most people that we've met in the time we've been involved, it takes a month to start seeing the improvements, but with other people it can be very quick. So I just really wanted to share that, and that was just a quick story, and that's it.
Thanks, Sue. Brilliant. And also we've got a testimonial here as well by, I don't think we've spoken before, but are you there, Zana?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, yes. I believe you've got an oil story for us, so if you just share it with the group, that'd be brilliant.
Okay, thank you very much. Everyone can hear me, obviously.
Yeah.
We can hear you, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And thanks, Lisa, for the opportunity to share. So as Andy mentioned, my name is Dana Madgu. I'm passionate about enhancing lives and making a difference. I joined doTERRA in March. Just a bit of background. I joined doTERRA in March this year as a wholesale customer, and this was through a very persistent encouragement by my upline and friend, Katie. And then I became an active wellness advocate in May this year, so just a few months ago. And the reason for that was because it was just so amazing. My experience with the oils at the beginning, and I just got sold out when I saw the positive effect it was having on my family. I'm also a lawyer, and I'm married. I've got 2 boys who are my cheerleaders. My little one is 3 years old, and well, he'll be 3 next month, and he is so into the oils himself. He's always asking, to inhale, and do the whole, inhaling process with me and my older one. The 2 oils that I'd like to talk about, just the oil stories I'd like to share about, are for the Zenjus oil and lavender as well. The Zenjus oil this essential oil, this was quite funny. It was during my son's bedtime story routine that we normally have. He's suffered from bloated tummy, and he just generally has a sensitive bowel and sensitive tummy. And this night we're about to have our bedtime story, and he was really feeling uncomfortable. So I just said, okay, we'll do the oil, the Zenjust oil routine with the coconut oil. We did that on his tummy. And as I picked up the bedtime storybook to read, and I was like, are you comfortable? I just turned around. I hadn't even opened the book yet. He had fallen asleep. And that has been the case ever since, I'd put the oil on him before going to school. He'd just be calm. He's really active, hyper. So he'd be calm. It just has this calming effect on him. So that really, really works. And with that, obviously, I don't have to go reach for the medicine cabinet as often with lactulose to help out with his bloated conditions here and there. So it's been really, really helpful. The Zenjust really, really helped, and sent him off to sleep as well, which is good for me time. Then the second oil I'd like to talk about, that's lavender essential oil. This is my own personal experience, which I had at work. And that was when I had, there was a bit of a friction between a colleague and myself. And we had a meeting that we both had to attend because it involved work and having to put our heads together. And I wasn't really keen on being at that meeting. And I knew that I was uncomfortable because of the way things had been between this person and I. And it's just been, I like working with people. I know that it's not that easy when you've got your differences, but, I just knew that it wasn't a meeting I could avoid. So just before the meeting, a few minutes before, I did the lavender, I used the lavender oil with coconut oil, put it in my hands, inhale, and did the whole rubbing on my back and my neck. And all of a sudden, and this is not obviously magic, this is real, there was a sense of calmness, and, the fact that, look, we can go beyond our differences, do what we need to do. And with that, I would go to the meeting, and I wasn't too fussed about how she, her facial expression or her behavior. And at the end of the day, we actually, got on well at the meeting. And I know it's because I also had to step back, and be honest about, the fact that this is the way I was feeling. So it did go very well. I would recommend that for any important meeting you have. The lavender oil, it does bring that calming feeling and reduces tension instead of, not just, for a good night's sleep as well. I'm sure, some of us have already had this experience anyway. Then I just want to leave us with a parting quote by some known writer. I think his name is Simon Kynoch, or I think so, I can't remember, but it's just on the power of authenticity. And I feel lavender oil possesses that power as well, if you're open to it. And it says, the quote says, people will not always recall what you say, but they will remember how authentic you made them feel. And for me, this is, what the power of authenticity sums up to be for me. It's about being true to who you are, being true to yourself when you're sharing the products, sharing the oils, just being honest, like sharing your oil stories, as naturally as you can. And people might not take to that particular story as their own experience, but just the way you come across, because it's you they're actually buying into in the first instance anyway. So just to encourage us to just keep going on this oily journey, and just keep being who you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zana. That was great. Excellent. If you just click yourself on mute, and that'd be absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much again for that. So you've heard a couple of great testimonials now. Now we're going to go on to our main speaker for this evening. We're really pleased that she's joined us. Michelle Marshall. We actually know each other from our previous network that we shared together. And they did really, really well there, her and her husband, Daniel, but they really set a new standard, I would say, since they've been over here in doTERRA. Now, I have to tell you, in our previous network, it was before it went out of business, it was going for around 97 years. And in that time, it made the great leap of going from, I think it was on that 2 countries to 3 countries in that time. doTERRA, I don't think sometimes we appreciate what we have here. You know, I think, I'm not sure what the exact number is now, but about 100, you know, in the 9 years, oh sorry, 11 years since they've been going, they're now in around about 130 countries. That's phenomenal growth. And if you can want to take advantage of some of that, then you really need to be taking some good notes here. Because since it was announced we were going into South Africa a little while ago, like I said, Michelle and her husband Daniel really took advantage of this and really led the way. So much so now that they've got a team of actually 600 people that were in South Africa pretty much before it all launched. Okay, so there's certainly an expert or experts on how to do this. So without further ado, can I pass you over to Michelle Marshall?
Thanks, Andy. Can I just say as well, in our old network, we're in the old network for 16 years, and we've actually accomplished in 2 years what it took us 16 years to accomplish. So yeah, definitely right place at the right time with this one.
Brilliant.
So Michelle, I'm just going to put up a few slides. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to do this a little bit sort of interactive between like actually sort of as an interview, and it's really great to have you on tonight. We're really
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm just going to. Okay, so before we really dig down into your story, I thought it would be really good to just share a few slides on normally how international sponsoring works when a country isn't open, and then we'll talk to Michelle about the things that you did that were really sort of a bit out of the box thinking with South Africa before South Africa opens, and obviously sort of really dig into your experiences. That would be really great. So normally the normal way of doing things when a country isn't open is we have what is called global access, and global access is a way that you can basically go anywhere in the world with doTERRA if doTERRA isn't actually on the ground in that country and open. And the way to do that is when you sponsor somebody, when you enroll somebody in one of those countries that come under that description, on your back office you choose global access country, and then you get this long list of countries that we're not opening. This, I actually, just as a side thing, this is always good. If you're not sure whether we're open in a country, this is a good way to check, because if it's not on that list, it means we're open, and if it's on that list, it means we're not open. And with this, what then has to happen is you have to have it delivered to America, and then wherever it's delivered to within America, it could be a freight forwarding place. They then send it to wherever it is around the world. So that's how it would normally work. But I know sort of with Michelle it was somewhat different because, well, I think it's probably a good point actually for you to come in and tell your sort of story. How did it come about that you actually started to enroll people in South Africa before the country was even opened?
Okay, so actually it was a bit of a catalogue of errors. That's the best way to describe it. First of all, we were doing some social media advertising, And the biggest mistake I made was that instead of writing that it was for the audience of everyone in England, I put it to everyone English speaking. So that was the first mistake. So obviously then it went out to Australia, South Africa, Canada, America, all those countries, and we get response from all those places. But we did get some response. No, what a mistake. So that's how we first got in contact with our very first South Africans. And they were desperate to get it over there. Quite a few of them that we'd spoken to had already heard of it. Some of them had even already experienced it as they travelled around. And so they just wanted to get their hands on it. So then our job was then to figure out a way to get the oils to them. We did look into global access because that's the way that doTERRA is set up to make that happen. Unfortunately, the relationships customs between America and South Africa aren't very good. And so they get charged an absolute arm and a leg for importing anything from America. And it made it so that it was completely unaffordable. It was quite often doubling the price of a kit. That's the charge that they were putting on it in customs. So it just made it unaffordable to do it that way. So we looked around different options and different ways that we could get the kits across there. We looked at different couriers we might be able to use. We looked at whether we could order it from America and try and get it delivered here first, then get it delivered from here to there, or somewhere in Europe, and then use that as a middleman to get it to South Africa. And yeah, so we spent quite a lot of time trying to suss that out. And in the end, we ended up getting special permission from doTERRA that we were allowed to register people with UK accounts. So they had UK accounts when they first enrolled. They could get their products delivered to our address, and we would be the middleman that would then use the customs to ship it across to them. So yeah, we became the South Africa warehouse for quite a number of months.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I'm sure there must have been so many lessons that you've had on this journey, and I can imagine one of the biggest ones must be about sort of endurance and sort of keeping on, because you must have gone through so many trials and tribulations, and there must have been times you probably asked yourself, was this really worth it, before the country was open, early mornings and late nights, I'm sure. So just sort of maybe share with us some of your probably biggest sort of learnings that you've had on this journey.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously the shipping thing was a big deal to get started with. We had to learn the South Africa customs and what they would accept and what they wouldn't accept and what we had to declare, and we had no idea, got no experience in customs, so that was a massive education for us, and we had to spend a lot of time researching that, looking into it. We had to trial and test things, not really knowing what the outcome was going to be, but be willing to take the hit if it didn't go to plan. So that's something we definitely had to learn, that we had to be prepared that things might not quite go the way that we wanted them or hoped them that they would. We also had to think around the cost and how much it was costing people, as to whether it was doable or whether we had to look at smaller kits to get things across, or just the best way for their culture and for their income and things like that, for affordability really, to be able to get doTERRA into their homes. Yeah. We also had to look around things like internet access. I don't know if many of you are aware of the situation in South Africa with their power, but they have something called load shedding, which basically is scheduled power cuts to save on power. And the whole area will go into a blackout for so many hours in the day. And it's not all year round, but we went through a massive period of it. Around this time of year last year, people were having up to like 6 hours blackout, and trying to build a business when people can't communicate with each other, and trying to put orders through when you can't get on the internet to do that. That was quite a big ask, especially since we were in another country, so it wasn't like we could make the phone calls to them without it being international phone calls. So we're like trying to figure out like WhatsApp and trying to get around it any which way we could, or schedule things for very early in the morning when we knew there wasn't load shedding on, so we had to shift things around and make that work. Also, we had to think about the time difference. South Africa's not got a massive time difference, so it wasn't too bad. and they're generally on an hour's time difference, but now our clocks have changed, we're now on 2 hours time difference, so that was very doable. But then we had to think about things like team training, because culturally they go to bed a lot earlier than we do, but they also wake up a lot earlier. So, 9 p.m. to them, you're talking a late night. So when we're 2 hours behind them, then it means that like this team training is at like 10 o'clock at night for them. Well, they're not going to be awake, they're going to be in bed. So we had to then start thinking about running our own team trainings at a time that they could attend. Okay. And then we also had to think about compliance in a new market, because as a new market opens, they've got to adhere to the laws and regulations of that country. And so we had to learn what was going to be acceptable in South Africa and what's not. And one of the big things for South Africa is that they're currently not allowed to have any talk on social media or on any literature about ingestion of oils. So we can only advertise 2 methods of use in South Africa. And some people might think, oh, that's terrible, like you can't talk about ingestion, but actually we've seen it like the positive side of it, and that it just means that we just have to teach our people 2 methods of using the oils, and then the 3rd method will be a very new and exciting thing when that comes along. So we've seen it as a bonus, but obviously that limits the products that we can use out there as well, and we have to adhere to that.
Do you talk about your experiences though with using them internally? It's just you don't put them on anything.
Yep, you can talk about it. We wouldn't talk about it in a public setting. If it is a class open to the public, we wouldn't talk about it in that setting, because we already know that we've got people from Department of Health watching our team, and not just our team but other teams in South Africa, as to what's being said. So we just want to make sure that we're completely compliant on that, because we don't want to screw it up for doTERRA and cause them issues.
Yeah, okay. Can I just go back to one of the things that you said that I think would be really good to sort of go into a little bit more, drill down a little bit more?
Sure, yeah.
So you talked about affordability. Now, obviously, do you know what sort of like the average monthly sort of income is in South Africa right now?
Yeah, so we did look into that to find out what the average was, but South Africa varies so drastically from the very poorest to the very richest, like way more than what we can comprehend in the UK. And because of the amount of poverty in the country, the average salary is actually only around $300 a month. Wow. Which is hard for us to comprehend that they can even survive on that, but that is the average. So it's very, very much hand to mouth. And so when we look at the price, because the price of the oils, it hasn't been reduced because it's South Africa, they still have to make a markup on the American prices, so it's still 10% above the American prices. But we just have to look at oil, like collections and kits that are more suitable, or offer them in a way that people can afford them. So instead of like maybe going for something like a natural solutions kit, we based all our classes around the home essentials kit, because that was more affordable than the natural solutions kit. So that's an example. We also taught people how to afford to run LRP orders based on bringing people into doTERRA. So that was a really important part. So we could teach people that by bringing people in and bringing them along to presentations and classes, that we'd be able to get people started, and based on so many kits purchased, that would cover the cost of their LRP. Another big difference as well for us, I think, that really helped our growth in South Africa, is that when we advertised out there, our focus wasn't on finding customers, because until just a couple of weeks ago, they couldn't even get products in the country, so it had to be shipped in. The minimum shipping cost from the UK to South Africa was £30. That was the minimum. That's for like a single bottle. Well, you can imagine, like, if you're just buying something like a lemon oil and sticking £30 shipping on it, that suddenly becomes very unaffordable for people. So, so until recently, we were just advertising and looking, and all our marketing was towards looking for people that wanted to build the business, because then they were more willing and more able to pay out for things like the kits and to get started. But obviously then, because we had more builders come on board at the beginning, that meant that our business has moved a lot faster than if we'd have brought more customers on board at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. And isn't it also the case, because I know sort of when, I mean, the fastest growing country today has been in Europe has been Romania.
Yeah.
And I'm sure South Africa is going to be giving Romania a run for its money. But when we look at Romania, one of the big things, again, a poor country with low disposable income, but one of the big things was their healthcare was so expensive. Is that model sort of pretty similar to what you've found in South Africa?
Yeah, it's a very similar model actually to Romania when you compare things like the average income and things like public health and private healthcare. It's very similar, so it could be built in a very similar way. To be honest, we've not even really done our research on Romania, which might sound a little bit stupid as to why have we even done that. But we just, because we didn't know that at the beginning, that those were the averages. And so we just thought, right, well, this is the South Africa market. Let's talk to our girls that are on the ground there and let's ask them what they think is best for their country. And that's always the philosophy that we've gone for, is that let's work with these people and they're the ones on the ground there. Let's find out what they want in their country.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Just David Williams has just asked a question, just sort of going back to the question of internal.
Yeah.
And I obviously can bring you in and I can answer it.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
In terms of sort of my experience from like the corporate side, where he's asked the question, can we sort of say that it's recognised internally in the rest of the world, but we can't advise on South Africa? And I think, this is because it's quite similar to what we had or do still currently have within the European market, in that in Europe we've only been able to register each oil for one single use, although all of the uses are of course on our experience, are within our experience, and we've got people that so it doesn't make any difference. The oil that we have in Europe, the oil that we have in South Africa, and the oil that we have in America, they're all the same oils. So the fact that people are using them in other countries for those things, then people, yes, can do their own research. But I think it's really back to what you were saying, Michelle, that we just have to be careful how we position it. Yeah. Certainly when it's in a public arena.
We're just erring very, very much on the side of caution. And so, yeah, in any public forum at all, we are just not even mentioning it. We've taken it off all of our classes. We've taken it, I've even rewritten a lot of things so that it doesn't contain the word internal use. Obviously that's taken me hours to do that, but again, that's one thing that I've been willing to do to help this market, because that was our commitment. We did say in the beginning, if we're going to get into this with South Africa, then we're going to make the commitment to them to make sure that we do all that we can to help them move it along. So no matter what that takes, and it has taken rewriting some things, because at the moment the doTERRA South Africa are still busy on trying to get set up, get the warehouse done, make sure deliveries are running fine. The last thoughts at the minute are trying to produce publications. So I've done it for our team for now.
So how do you deal with the situation where you're doing a class and you may have people on that class that are from South Africa and other parts of the world as well, or do you not do them? Are you keeping them completely separate?
We keep them separate just because the rules are separate.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. We're just being super cautious, just because we know that they could have the plug pulled on them if the court recommended internal use.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the internal use is something that they will be getting registered for.
They are, yes.
That they will have, if my intelligence is correct, that they will have a separate group of oils that have just got for internal use on.
Yeah, so what they're having to do is that they also can't register oils for two uses. So they are not allowed to register, for example, an oil for skincare and for internal use. So they're going down the avenue of registering a load of the oils for internal use, and it just takes a little bit of time. It is a bit slow in South Africa to get things registered. I believe at one point it's like an 18-month waiting list to get things registered. So I know they've been on it for quite a while now. So hopefully, well, to be honest, we expected it next year. That's the indication we've been given, because the list of products that we've seen are getting released next year. So or planning to be released next year anyway. So we're expecting it sometime next year. But I can't remember what I was going to say about that now. My mind's just gone blank.
Yeah, I mean, it is only the sort of same as sort of situations we're in Europe, because we've only got, you know, that one registration on each of the products. So
yeah. Oh, and I was going to say the registration that they're doing, they're going to do it on 5 ml bottles. And the reason for that is because that's what they've been asked to do it in smaller bottles. But actually we're so happy about that, because now all of a sudden we have these very affordable 5 ml bottles of everything. Things like fibre, things like...
They'll have 5 ml bottles that are registered for internal use, and then
Yes.
3 ml bottles that are registered for
other use.
And they'll have the same product inside.
Same oil inside, so you can use it for whatever. But for us, it opens up the door to be more affordable for people that struggle to afford the 15 ml bottles. They're now going to have a 5 ml option of oils that aren't normally available in 5 mls.
Okay.
So we're excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds interesting. So Zana has asked about videos. So how are there separate videos that's not showing the internal use for?
There's not. We tend to just share the sourcing videos because they don't show internal use.
Right.
So they're the ones that we tend to share publicly. Like as soon as somebody's joined the team, then we'll do team trainings and we'll do team calls and we'll do like oil education. And yes, we will talk about internal use, and yes, we will share videos in that setting. And on our private team group, you know, we'll share it within that setting as well. But when it's public, you've just got to be really careful.
I can imagine. I mean, what you're describing there, and your approach, I can imagine is very different to some other people's approaches in the market. So
yeah.
how are you handling that one?
Well, we just know that we're doing the right thing. So we're sticking by our morals on that one. If we have seen that people have been advertising, like publicly advertising internal use in South Africa, then we will alert doTERRA to it so that they can go and have a word. And they're not being, you know, they're just being sending a quick message saying, you know, please don't recommend internal use, especially on social media. That's the big one that they've been asking to not recommend on. See, the problem is that somebody could write a post and it could be a public post. Well, people in South Africa are going to see that public post. So they've just said as guidelines, like if you're seen to be targeting South Africa, or you're running ads directed to South Africa or anything like that, then not to put internal use on those. If you're doing a public post, you can't help it if someone in South Africa sees that. So it's doing what we can.
Yeah,
you know, to stay on the right side.
It's difference between targeted and untargeted, isn't it? I
yeah.
mean, it's also the difference between, you know, if somebody comes on your worldwide webinar from South Africa and you're just doing a general webinar, you can't be, you know, at fault because you didn't know that somebody was on there. But if you are doing one that is, you know, welcome to South Africa, and then you've got internal,
and then you've got internal use, then that's where you tread on thin ice. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for making that clear. So we've actually got Kathy on, who's from South Africa, is actually in everyone's in my team, but is in my direct team, and she's asking, and this is a big question, so maybe just can give some quick points on the chat. She says she needs some help on how to approach people in Cape Town. Now obviously there's lots of, she's in Cape Town, there's obviously lots of different materials out there, and I know Kathy's been watching the Shedavi's material, the calls, the daily calls. Is there anything that you can say that is singly different in South Africa to what is very general advice on building a business there?
Not really. No, not really. especially now that it's opened, like pre-launch, yeah, there was a lot of differences because of things like shipping and things like that. But now it's launched, there's not really too many differences, other than it being slight different culture, different spending capability and things like that. But she lives there, she'll understand that. And so it's then about finding ways to make contact with different people, and there's loads of different, that's a whole training in itself, as to different ways to find people. And then it's to put them on some sort of presentation or a class, whether that's online, and that's how we started doing it. Obviously, I wasn't in South Africa to be running classes, so all our classes were run online, and those classes just kept getting bigger and bigger. We started splitting it between teams, and we started to share the load with that. And now that the classes are now on the ground there, so we have a team in each of the different areas. We've just about got every city, I think, covered, and they're running regular events on the ground there now.
And you were in South Africa for, well, the week before the opening, actually, weren't you?
Yeah, we mistimed it slightly.
I know, because
they hadn't announced when the launch was going to be. We got wind of when it was roughly going to be, so we just booked tickets based on that, and we were a week out. So
we were a week out. Oh well, I'm sure you'll be there for the. Is it February where they're going to
February, yeah, that's our next trip's planned.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll be there for that.
Yeah.
Just on, I think on the screen, can you see the screen with the price list on?
Yes.
Okay, so I've just put up for people to see that don't know what open looks like for South Africa, because obviously there's a much smaller range of products, and there's going to be more products sort of coming, as you say, in waves over the next sort of year or so. So at the moment you've got 10 single oils, 13 blends, 6 skin and hair, and the carrier oil, and
one enrollment kit.
And one enrollment kit, which is the home essentials,
family essentials,
even family essentials. Yeah. So my next question is, how do you deal with that? How are you building a business with that sort of small range of products?
Well, I think we played a good card in that we told our team there's only going to be 30 products available, so now they've got 40 odd, so they're happy.
Okay.
so they come out of it feeling quite positive. Yeah. No, we're really happy, to be honest, at the products that have been put down. We've got some fantastic blends in there as well, which they're really super chuffed about. A lot of the restriction is actually because of the internal use. So there's a lot of products they couldn't put on there because they're trying to get it registered for internal use, that's fine. It would be nice to have the home essentials kit. The reason that's not available is because they've got an issue with diffusers. They have a different voltage or wattage or whatever is out there, and they were just struggling to get the adapters in time for the launch, but they were expecting to hear that they're going to be available quite soon. So then that's going to open up the avenue for a few more enrollment kits. Yeah. But at the minute it's just family essentials kits. So normally, like the amount of people that we've enrolled this month, we'd expect our turnover to be higher, but because everyone's only enrolling on family essentials kits and not home essentials kits, the turnover's actually not as high as what it would be if there were home essentials kits, if that makes sense. Yeah. But no, we're happy with that offering. You know, we have been promised that there's about 80 more products that they're scheduling to roll in next year. So, you know, it's gonna alter it massively.
And in some ways it keeps the whole thing simple.
Yeah.
I think I shared on Nathan and Rebecca's call, we were talking about Norway, and you know, again, a really, really fast growing market with a small range of products because of you know, the restrictions. They didn't even have On Guard and tea tree and etc. because they couldn't have. So it has its, you know, I think it's difficult when you have had everything available. That's probably been difficult for you because you've been sending everything on from the UK, and now you had a team of people there already for the opening, and now you've had to sort of re-educate their thinking. Yeah,
I mean, things like LRPs are a little bit more difficult because there's a limited amount, but they're just getting a bit more clever with how they're promoting it. So, you know, they're coming up with things with like a little spring collection, and that's what they're advertising to their customers, like a little spring collection of maybe 3 or 4 oils that total over 100 PV. And so they're just coming up and being a bit more, using an initiative really as to the ways to promote the products that are on that list.
Okay. So Sandy is asking, she says she's got someone is interested in South Africa. What's the situation re shipping now?
Yep, so they literally just go on to, or you go to doTERRA back office, register a new wellness advocate. You can now select South Africa. You don't have to select global access or anything like that, or UK. So just select South Africa and just do an enrolment as normal. They put down their normal shipping address and it gets delivered directly from the South Africa warehouse now. And the shipping's quite quick. It's normally within 48 to 72 hours. So they're quite quick over there.
I think the products are in Johannesburg warehouse.
They are, yeah.
Right. So yeah, I've just got some slides here just for people. Just the membership's 445 rands, so that works out sort of pretty similar. There's about 19 rands to the pound.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's pretty similar to the price of the membership on its own here. And then we've got the Family Essentials kit is 2,940 and the shipping 75 rands. So that's basically the things that people need to know to get people registered.
And they get a free 15mm Smart and Sassy with that kit as well.
That's right, yeah, because beadlets are obviously out of question at the moment because of them being internal use. So they've taken the beadlets out and replaced it with the Smart and Sassy. Is it called Smart and Sassy over there or Slim and Sassy?
It is Smart and Sassy, but it's tea tree, not Melaleuca.
Okay. Just to keep us
on our toes.
Also, just sort of also to mention the product of the month and the 10% off are obviously different to Europe because we don't have such a big range there. So this month, the product of the month was Smart and Sassy as well. And Carrie Calm was the 10% off in October. So I take it will they just be sending newsletters with the products of the month to...
I'm not sure newsletters have gone out. They've just asked everyone to watch their South Africa Facebook page.
Okay, which I did put a slide up on. So it's doTERRA Essential Oils South Africa. So if you go on to that, you can also find on there the price list that I showed as well.
Yeah.
This one, it's on the South Africa.
Yeah, there's lots of info on that page.
Yeah. So that's Founders Club then. Let's talk a little bit about that. So this is exciting because Founders Club, whenever a new market opens, what the company does is very, very generous. It says that we know that when you start in a new market, you have to do a lot more work than if you join when the market's really, really established, and have to put up with a lot more of, you know, sort of disruption and things not working quite as they might do in a sort of fully established market. So it takes the real pioneers, the people that hit gold for the 3 consecutive months in that country, and it's 15 people, isn't it, in South Africa? 20. So the first 20 people to hit gold and do that consecutively for 3 months and then hold it will get a share of 1% of the turnover for life, as long as you carry on holding the Founders Club level that's going to be stipulated. This is really exciting because, Michelle, I believe you're going to be one of the first founders in the market.
I think we will.
I think you will. So this month you'll have hit gold, yeah?
Yes.
So the way to look at this, so you might be thinking, well, Michelle, how can Michelle be a founder in South Africa when she lives in the UK? Well, you can be multiple founders, because what the company does is it just looks at your volume that you have in that country. So if you are gold in that country, when you strip away all the other volume that's going on in your business, if you're still gold, then you could be a founder in that country. Same with, you could also be at the same time a founder in the UK, although that's diamond, it's not gold. But let's say, you know, you stripped away all your other sales and all your other volume and you were left with diamond in the UK, you could also be a UK founder.
That's actually one of our another catalogue of errors, because as we started to look into South Africa, we thought, oh, but South Africa founders, that's an option. And we thought that the UK founders was already full, but it's actually European founders that was full, not the UK. So then we kind of changed all our attention because we really wanted to be founders somewhere. So we thought, oh, well, if UK's full and Europe's full, then let's just go for South Africa. So that's another reason that we really went for South Africa. And actually, UK still got plenty of space.
I know you realise that, oh, but you can be in that, you know, that's the great thing. So get sound founders in the South Africa, and then you can put some energy back in the UK and get your diamond in the UK, which is amazing. So that's fantastic. So that is exciting for everyone that's on the call, because it's open, so you can go and take a position, and it's, you know, it's obviously very, very exciting. Oh, there's a picture of you. Is Daniel on the call, by the way?
He is. I don't know if he's got his camera on, but he's in the other room, I think.
So yeah, I'm glad I've put that picture on so people know that you're. How much have you worked sort of as a couple at
100%. Yeah, we couldn't have done it with just one of us because it was such a big job to do.
Yeah.
Actually, that picture, the person you've cut out the picture is Bianca, and it's the first time we ever met her. She's one of our frontline South Africans.
Oh, really?
we met her in Dusseldorf.
I didn't know that. I wouldn't have. Oh, I feel terrible now.
Good. Yeah, so obviously we've met quite a few of them now because we went over there. But yeah, we met Bianca in Dusseldorf. That's our very first meeting.
Oh, brilliant. So you tell us about what you've already got in the country now then, in terms of numbers. I know it's about sort of 600 that over the time, and you know, I'm not sure, have they all converted over? So
we're still converting. It's taken a long time to convert everyone over. Some people have been a little bit reluctant to convert over straight away because they have got access to all the products in the UK by keeping UK accounts, and so they're actually quite willing to do the international shipping thing to get those products that they want, especially people like that are quite heavily dependent on the LLV. They just don't want to let that go. So yeah, so there's a few people still with UK accounts, but generally the majority of them have moved across now, because doTERRA have said that if people people that have been using things like LV or like the Deep Blue supplements, that they can process that order over the phone and they'll get it delivered to our house and we can still ship it.
Per account.
I don't think people probably understand how much shipping we had to do. And on the BOGO week, the last BOGO week, so not the one we just had, but the last one, on one of the days we got delivered over 60 packages. And on a regular basis, we were shipping boxes of between 10 and 30 kilograms, like 3 to 4 times a week. So it was, our house was the warehouse. It was stacked high of boxes constantly. And that was Daniel's job. So Daniel's job was to receive the boxes. We had to unpack them because what we found is that a lot of the lids weren't tight enough. So they were leaking. So we had to manually tighten every lid, manually repack everything and list everything and put it onto the customs document. Then wrap it again for shipping, weigh it, measure it, submit the customs documents, and then get the courier to come and collect. So it was a massive extra that we had to do, but we could just see that it was going to be worth that effort.
Definitely. And Daniel's put on the chat that is here. So hi, Daniel. Thank you for doing all that. Okay, so I think this is really, really important question, because I think, you know, it sounds like almost sort of idyllic to go into a new country and be a pioneer and just, you know, really sort of make this difference and look at sort of founders. There's obviously so much more that goes into actually supporting a team in another country.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, when we talked and you know, you said this, you felt this has probably been underestimated by people and maybe, you know,
ourselves.
yeah. So just sort of talk us through that. How do you do that? How do you support people? Not even, doesn't really matter whether the country's open or closed or whatever it is, just, you know, when you're over in another continent.
I think you've just got to prepare yourself that it's going to be really hard work. We did underestimate it because we didn't really have a clue what we're getting ourselves into. We'd never experienced a market opening before. We had no clue, but we just decided, and we had the mindset we were just going to do whatever it took to make that happen. And then there's more people that came on board. Obviously, they were there to support us, and they were encouraging us and supporting us when things got really difficult. Just like, oh my goodness, like, what have we done? They were there to like encourage us and egg us on to like get over that hurdle. So, you know, I said customs was a massive one. We had lots of issues with customs and packages getting held, inspections being done. We've even got a massive parcel confiscated. We lost about £1,500 worth of product to a confiscated parcel. Yeah, so we had all sorts of issues. But things like getting over the time zone, you know, I mentioned that, you know, 1 or 2 hours doesn't sound like a lot, but you've got to, I'm constantly working in South Africa time. So if somebody tells me that something's happening in UK time, I have to like almost like recalculate, right, okay, when is that? Because I've had to switch to understand when things are happening so I don't miss appointments. It's been really important to have really good communication channels open so that we can communicate with our team and with our leaders. We use Facebook a lot. I know a lot of the team in South Africa use WhatsApp. WhatsApp's a big social media platform there. And that's the initial way that I contacted people out there, because cost of a phone call out there, with the amount of phone calls I was making in the early days, I was sometimes phoning up to 100 to 200 people a week. When I very first started. So to make those international phone calls, that would have just cost too much. I couldn't afford to do that at the time. And so WhatsApp was the answer, because I could make WhatsApp calls. So it's establishing how you're going to communicate with people. Thinking about things like the language barrier is going to be one. Thankfully, the majority of people in South Africa do speak English, so that made it easier. But there are people that we've tried to communicate with that haven't spoken English. Afrikaans is a very spoken language out there, and there's loads of languages out there, things like Zulu. But as the team's grown, they've been able to then assist with those language barriers that we've had. And we've had to make sure, like I said, that the information is being localized to those people. So, for example, now when I do like broadcasts or messages, we're talking about products that are available in South Africa. There's no point me sharing loads of blends of products that aren't available because they can't get their hands on them, and it's just teasing them. So it's just trying to make everything that's compliant and that it just refers to them. Also consider that you might have to be the delivery centre, like I said. You know, you might have to be the one that receives the packages if you can't do it through the GAC, which is where they get it directly from America. And that you're also basically going to be the call centre. So that's something I underestimated, and that for South Africa to call any service centre issues through, it was going to cost them an international phone call, which they couldn't afford. So all the service centre questions came via me, and then I had to make that call to our service centre on their behalf. So so I was we were the distribution centre and the service centre, I didn't quite expect how big that was going to be, and obviously we didn't expect the team to grow as fast as it has. And like Lisa said, there's over 600 there now, which is an enormous number, bigger than we ever could have imagined. But we're just grateful, really, really grateful it launched when it did, because we started to get really worried about what if they push this launch back again, because it had already been pushed back twice. We were really worried that it might get pushed back again, and how big could this get, and could we handle it? We were going to have to employ people to come and help us with this, or pull in some favours with family and friends to come and help us manage it. But no, it just got announced and launched just at the right moment, really.
Brilliant. And Michelle, obviously you've got business all over the world. I mean, South Africa is your biggest market in your business, but you know, I know that you've got other countries too. So just give us, people on this call, sort of your top piece of advice, regardless, you know, of whether it's South Africa or the UK or your next door neighbour. When you're, you know, what would you like to give them as your sort of top piece of advice for building a business with doTERRA?
That's quite a tricky one. But I'd probably say to just make the commitment that if you decide you are going to go to a new market, make the commitment that you're going to give them as much attention as that they need. So like for us, we decided that they were going to get the majority of our attention because that's what the majority of the team ended up being. So yeah, it's just helping them to make sure that it happens for them. So that's almost like giving the commitment to do whatever it takes to make it happen in that country.
So it's been an amazing journey for you so far. It is only just the beginning. It's life-changing. You know, you're on such a journey now with doTERRA. It's just so wonderful to see that your life's never going to be the same again, and in a really positive way. So my sort of last question for you really is, having known how difficult it was, would you do it again, and what's next for you?
I'm not sure that we do pre-launch again. It's been really hard.
To be honest.
I'm not sure we do pre-launch again, but I would look into new markets, I think. And really our plan now is to help these South Africans, because we are going for founders ourselves, but also our aim is to help our team fill as many of those founder spots as possible, and because they have been the pioneers out there and they have made it happen. So yes, to get those spots filled, but naturally what we're finding is that the team's expanding out into other parts of Africa, and so we're very excited to help with that growth as well as it expands throughout Africa, which I know is part of doTERRA's plans as well.
Well, that's amazing, and many congratulations, and thank you for everything that you are doing to really help people change their lives. It's amazing. And there's a quote, there's a Mary Kay Ash, who founded Mary Kay, a lovely quote that goes, the speed of the leader is the speed of the gang. And I really believe that that is what you have brought to the market. You know, you've gone at a speed, and you've got the imagination of a group of people, key leaders, and they've come with you, and you've all gone and really, you know, seen the opportunity and gone for it. So it's really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Can I just say though, Lisa, like even 12 months ago, a bit more than 12 months, because we had South Africa open from the July, and even then we didn't believe that we could do it. You know, we thought it might be nice to have a little South Africa team. You know, we wanted to have a South Africa team, and we decided just to give it 100%. And honestly, we can't believe what we've got. We really can't believe it. And so when we hear things like people saying, you know, do you realise how big this is? Do you realise that, you know, you're set for life? And no, we don't really realise that, because we're just Michelle and Daniel that have just gone out on a punt to try something new.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant, and so humble, but you know, you can see why it's worked for you, because you've just put your heart and soul into it. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. So I think, Andy, if I stop sharing, I'm just going to hand back over to you for your closing thoughts.
Yeah, just to wrap up, really, I think it's absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much again, Michelle, absolutely fantastic. Really, just to talk about next week, we have, obviously next week we won't be back here, but it'll be Nathan and Rebecca's team call on Monday evening, same time, 8:30 p.m, slightly different web address. Do look out for it on social media, of course, silverblossomwebinar.com. So like I said, 8:30 p.m. next week. And just like I said, end of the period coming up, so make sure you do everything to get as much as you can in by the end of the month, and we look forward to seeing you. Well, both of us look forward to seeing you in November, of course. That's it.
And Andy, before you go, Michelle's just put her, because I think one of the questions I asked was how many people she got at some rank. So it's on the chat if you want to give it out. It's amazing.
So we are gold, brilliant, and we have 1 silver, 5 premiers, 16 elites, 14 executives, 26 directors and 52 managers, over 600 in the team, due to that, huge transfer this month going over, which is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And you think I'm the one that's got to do recognition at the weekend. It's going to take me about 2 days, I should think. Well, everybody else should think it's going to take a long time. So,
David just mentioned about he'd like to share it with his team. You'll do the normal recording, won't you?
Yeah. Well, David's in the groups, I know, so certainly be able to do that. So we'll get that no doubt recorded or transferred or over to everybody tomorrow after I've edited out my embarrassing bit at the start, of course. So that's it, everybody. Thank you very much indeed, and should have a fantastic last few days of the period, and we'll see you back here very, very soon. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.